such an asshole.
We have an honest question, and I, official South Dakota resident Cappy, can tell you the truth. Not because I just turned into a resident not too many years ago, but rather I've been coming out here since I was 19. Dear Aaron Clary, you moved to South Dakota, right? I'm just interested to know how life in South Dakota is compared to the rest of the country. Do you see? I'm going to answer your questions because you have some good questions. I'll give you an overall review for everyone else who kind of wants a bird's eye view of it. Do you see a noticeable lack of face diaper worshipers when visiting the grocery store, or do you still see at least one every store visit you make? Yeah, they're not here. They're not here. You will see occasionally one. And invariably, they're one of two people, which I'm okay with. One, it's old people. Now, keep in mind, I'm in Rapid City. It's the second largest town in South Dakota, so there's a lot of people come here for their medical care. I think it's like a 200-mile radius. I'm not joking. So I could see old people, frail, for just other diseases, not even due to COVID, wearing their mask. And then you have tourists. And then the tourists, you kind of look at their place. California. Oh, Colorado. But it's rare. Very rare. The native population, which here has a different meaning, meaning native Indians, Native Americans. I'm talking native people who live in South Dakota, regardless of, race or anything like that. People, South Dakotans, typically don't wear the masks. And I think we were one of several states, including Utah, that didn't have any lockdowns where it's like, nope, we're not doing that. But yeah, I mean, there's 1.2 million people here. There's Democrats that just ain't a lot of them. But the people you see are usually old and frail, which I'm like, okay, I get it. Do that. Who are your neighbors? I don't have neighbors. They're miles away. I have neighbors. They own land around me, but they don't have buildings on them. My closest neighbor is about 1.5 miles away. And this depends on where you live. If you live, there's like 3 general parts to South Dakota. You can live in a city like Sioux Falls, Rapid City, lesser ones like Mitchell, Chamberlain, Aberdeen, and there's a town, there's a Walmart, Watertown's like that too. And those are about the biggest ones. And you can't even call it a city. It's just a suburb with a city center, right? So there's neighborhoods, and you'll have neighbors. There's tract developments, apartment buildings, like regular most people in a major metro. If you've been in the suburb, that's kind of like that, minus the city and the people that poop in the streets. Are they mostly native South Dakotans or transplants from out of state? If so, from where? It's mostly South Dakotans, but there are a fair amount of transplants coming in here. They're usually they're kind of from all over. I know one guy, he's from California, but he was born here and brought up here. So I don't know if that counts. Another couple is from California, but they moved here 10 years ago. A friend of mine, he's from Florida. And then what else? Fourth guy, he's from Utah. I knew of some people from Pennsylvania. So I don't think it's necessarily the Californians. And usually they came here for a reason like work. The Californian I know that had never been here before and decided to move. He got a job at one of the larger companies in town. So that's why he moved here. But most of the people here are native South Dakotans. Not a lot of transfer. There's some, and the locals like, I can't believe all the people that have moved in. I looked up the data. I'm like, okay, like 2,000 people came in like the past 2 years, 1,000 people a year, which I guess on a base population of 60,000, that's 3-4% increase. That's above average, but it's not, enemies at the gates or anything like that. And I do know the South Dakotans will eschew Californians, Denverites, New Yorkers, and if you come from a blue state, if you're a Democrat, they will eschew you. They'll find out, and if they find out you're a Democrat, they're just like, won't do. You won't be invited to get-togethers. You won't be invited here or there. And good for them. because like screw you guys, you screwed up your place. You're coming out here and you're ruining our place. Now, a lot of transplants will say, I'm not he I hate the Democrats. I was escaping. So you got a lot of refugees, conservative refugees coming here. So, but yeah, I heard just recently one story that a California couple moved because no one would hang out with them. I'm like, oh, that's too bad. And then I guess, this is rumor mill. We don't, this is just what you hear through the grapevine because it's still a small state, small town. I guess U-Haul has a lot of people moving back to where they came from. One, because of the horrible winters they have here. They only come out California, little pussies. They come out here during summer and like, yeah, it's gorgeous. It's great. It's wonderful. It's dry, no mosquitoes. It's wonderful. And then it's not as bad as Fargo or Minneapolis, but it's still pretty bad. Last year was minus 16 one day. The wind just howls. And you can have like 6 inches of snow, but it will drift to feet tall on the interstate because ain't nothing blocking it. And then yeah, these little precious Californians and like, oh my goodness, it's just so nice. I think I'm gonna like change some things though, because I am Karen and I know better than all of you, even though our neighborhood had to get a plow to shovel away all the human Democrat shit that was literally being shat in front of our house. But I know better. Yeah, once it gets cold or difficult, then they're like, oh. So that's one reason they leave. The other reason they leave is social ostracization, which is good because you assholes in California vote to enslave us all at a national level. So get the F out of here. Yeah, but there's other people from other states. And that's about it. Do you go to any local coffee shops or restaurants? What do you overhear the other pages talking about, if anything? So there are local coffee shops. There's some good ones. The restaurants are not good. They're like on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 being very average, 9 being Vegas with all the options. And I guess that'd be a 10. California or Florida would be like a 9 or a 10. South Dakota is like a 3. I mean, you're not coming here for the restaurants. You're like, oh my goodness, a new place is open up. Oh my God. Not to say places don't open up, but this is not a restaurant place. There's some okay restaurants and there's a lot of cafes. A lot of old people want to retire because they came out here in 1960 or whatever and they had fond memories. And they opened up a little biscuit shop. Those have the exact same survivability rates as any other place. So yeah, you're not coming here for the fine dining. There just isn't any. There really isn't. I mean, the best steakhouse, I'm not kidding, the best steakhouse in the Rapid City area is in Wyoming. You have to drive across the border to get there. But yeah, it's not a lot of fine dining. And what fine dining? Okay, there's a place called Steerfish. It's a play on words. It's a town called Spearfish on your way out to Wyoming. Very good dinner. Very good menu. It's not, sit down with the napkin in your lap, but it's high-end dining for out here. They can't find people. So you go there and you're waiting. And sometimes it closed down. And so that's another common problem out here. But you know what? You don't step over shit in the streets. But that's what you vote for. And then do I hear patrons talk about anything? A lot of, I go to a diner a lot, especially when the girlfriend isn't here. And I get my breakfast and all the farmer rancher types show up and they talk about farming and ranching stuff, weather, water was a big topic past 2 years, crops, temperature, farming and ranching stuff. The staff, I'll just tell you right now, since you're a guy, what are the women like? If they're good looking, they're single moms. The wait staff, both men and women, but disproportionately women, they're always talking about their kids and life is hard and difficult. And, oh my God, I'm so busy. It's like, well, you shouldn't have had 3 kids. It's just me. I don't know. I don't know how it works. Seems to me I get to sleep in whenever I want without having the kids around. That I don't have. But that's normal everyday stuff. So there's that. I'm rather sick of life politically in the rest of the country, Midwest, Northeast, heck, even the South is cucked at time. Florida gets demolished by hurricanes every season, and the West Coast isn't an option for reasons I'm sure you already know. So I'm thinking of moving to South Dakota. I'm also thinking Montana and Idaho would be too expensive, and Alaska would just be impractical, lack of employment opportunities, and entire days of light or dark, depending on the season. Please let me know. So yes, and I also linked to my book, if you hadn't read it already, called Reconnaissance Man, where I reconnoitered the entire United States through all my travels, and I kind of evaluate the best places to live. So let's talk about Montana, Idaho, and other places generally west, like Utah and all that. They're fine. Depends on where you're coming from. If you can be remotely employed, then you can move anywhere. And there's a ton of small rink-a-dink towns that no one, if you want to be left alone, I could show you spots in Wyoming where you won't see people for weeks. Montana, I wouldn't let, yeah, if you want to go to Missoula or Bozeman. Wyoming, if you want to live in Jackson Hole, yeah, you're going to pay an arm and a leg. But I would definitely drive around these states. Idaho as well. I hated Boise. I'd want to be in the mountains. Montana gets cold. Didn't know if you knew that. It's north of South Dakota. That gets cold, but not as cold as North Dakota. But yeah, there's other places you can go out in Utah. I mean, I think depending on weather and taxes, what you want more, Utah I think is a really good deal. I mean, if every state had a state income tax, I'd be in Utah probably. But South Dakota has no state income tax. But then when it comes to, let me give you the bird's eye view of South Dakota. All right. Obviously, I like it here. This is my favorite place to be in the United States. Now, those are reasons specific to me. I like climbing mountains. The mountain ranges here only go up to 7,200 feet. So I don't get altitude sickness. Above 10,000, I get altitude sickness. It's a pain in the ass. All right. There's beautiful motorcycle riding here. Not to say that you can't go motorcycle riding elsewhere. There's beautiful motorcycle riding all over the West, but I like it here as well. So I got that. Probably very specific to me is I am a rock hound. I like agate hunting and fossil hunting, of which this is some of the best hunting grounds in the country. And there's also panning for gold if you happen to find. You're not going to get rich off of it, but it's something fun to do. Like some guys like going fishing. I like panning for gold and metal detecting. Right, you can, because there was a lot of Western history going on out here. There was a gold rush, so a lot of people come through. So you can find buttons, some old coins, things like that. Nothing that's going to make you rich. And then also, I like where I live in South Dakota because there's the far west side of South Dakota, which means if I want to go to Wyoming or Montana or whatever, it's no more than 4 hours away, and I can start hitting other ranges that I've never hit from my mountain climbing if I want to stay below 10,000 feet. Below the hard deck does not count. What's your problem, Kazansky? So that's, and then also I like no state income taxes. I enjoy that. I don't know about you, but that's what I enjoy. And yeah, and so that's why I'm kind of out here. That being said, I know not everyone's favorite place is everyone else's favorite place. But it wasn't until I lived here for a while and I had a lack of friends visiting me did I start to see their viewpoint where forget living, they don't even want to visit. First, if you look at it, particularly Rapid City, we are dead center to the entire North American continent. Like we're the farthest away from everything. And I know this is a bigger advantage than you might think spending winters in Vegas because Vegas is a huge hub and you can fly anywhere dirt cheap and get there quickly. Rapid City, unless you're willing to pay an arm and a leg, and you have to be coming from the right airport, you can expect to pay direct flight around, on good times, $400. More normally around $600. Even if you're coming from Minneapolis, an hour, 10-minute flight, the distance doesn't matter. It just isn't enough volume to come out here. Or you're going to be flying probably to Denver first and connecting elsewhere. Chatty flies from Chicago to Minneapolis and Minneapolis direct. Or you're driving, and you are driving at least a day to get here. And if you're coming in from the north, the east, or more or less the south, it is the most god-awful, boring, flat country ever. 93% of South Dakota is just flat. It's flat. There's nothing there. There's not a tree. And I could driving across it a million times. I can understand, like, you wouldn't want to live out there unless you're like a prairie type of person. That would drive you nuts. It would. And there's no people out there. I mean, I'm saying there's no culture, but there's not a lot. There's nothing. There's Sioux Falls, and that's like the god most awful, boring big town there ever was. And there's Rapid City, and Rapid City's nice, but it's not like, oh, I'm coming here for Rapid City. I'm coming here because you got the mountains. So South Dakota in general, no. If you're like, oh, I had one guy's like, oh, I got a job offer in Chamberlain. Is that a great town? I'm like, no. I mean, it's on the Missouri, but there's nothing there. I would argue the only place to move would be the Rapid City area, Black Hills area. Or if you wanted to raise a family, sure, fine, Sioux Falls. Like if you're the missionary sex type of couple and you want your kids to have good schools, okay, go to Sioux Falls. It's there, it's bland, it's boring. Sometimes they put butter on their toast. They get crazy out there. But yeah. But then if you are an old time retired guy, you just want to be left alone. Yeah, there's a bunch of small little towns you can be left alone. Like if you just, I mean, there's a piece of me where I could just find a small little town with a bar and get drunk all day. It's one of my great uncles did. There was a kind of a nice piece to that, but I think you'd get bored after 3 months of that. So if you were to come to Rapid City, which is, again, I think the only place you'd want to go, but you don't like motorcycle riding, you don't like hiking, you don't like hunting, fish. I mean, if you're just like, oh, I like it, you're going to be bored here. And you could see it, a lot of the locals, like, why would you move here? And I'm like looking at the mountains. I'm like, how, what? But I forget that most Americans are fat slobs who don't hike. And you could see them at the Walmarts all the time in Rapid City. And so it was kind of like that in Wyoming, where I was living right in the foothills of the Bighorn Mountains, and you couldn't find anyone to go hike because they grew up with it. Why would I climb that? I'm not, because it's fun. It's there. And so if you're not an outdoor type, here's the general rule. If you're not an outdoor type person, there'd be no difference between you moving to South Dakota or North Dakota. It'd just be another flat state with nothing to do. So if you need, you're not an outdoor type of person, I'd be looking more, Denver's a shithole, but you're going to need major cities, and you don't really need to be in the mountains. Then I'd say more like a Las Vegas type of person. Las Vegas, Phoenix, gets a little warm down there. But yeah, and so in full intellectual honesty, I think it's great, but pigs think mud is great. You may hate it here. And everyone's like, well, what the hell do you do out there? I'm like, you climb mountains and you hike, and then and they're like, that sounds horrible. I'm like, oh, well, I guess we won't see you visit. And then, oh yeah, the gun rights are great out here. Like we have constitutional carry. Like the governor gives you a gun as you cross into the state. Like, here's your free gun. Go shoot things. Okay, yeah, it's great. So for the gun right people. But yeah, I had to kind of like take my biases and preferences and set them aside and realize just because I like it here doesn't mean everybody else is going to like it here. And so if you want to like a little more social activity, going out. Oh, let me tell you, because obviously most of my audience is men. I can't say no good looking women here, but I can say there are no good looking women here. There are, of course, some, but they are definitely the exception, not the rule. Do not let our governor fool you. Do not let Tammy Lauren fool you. She's from Rapid City, I guess. The vast majority, it's a who dang diggly. And that rule definitely holds. If it's a good looking gal, she is a single mom. Aaron, there must be one married. Yes, there's like 2 girls I know who are attractive and married and have kids. Yes, I know them. The 2 in the entire state. The rest are all single moms. So if you're looking to find a good old country farm girl, you will not find her here. Unless she's got Jessup's sperm donor consequence, crotch fruit. What's his name? Jessup's crotch fruit. She'll be having Jessup's crotch fruit. She'll be towing him in tow. And that's here. So it makes, if you're older, you're kind of more retirement angle. Yeah, it's not bad. If you don't mind, and now here's another thing. If you don't mind the winter, it's not North Dakota, but it's still cold. The Black Hills area does have what's called a Chinook effect, which takes the edge off, but you still at least once a year you get below zero, at least. Snowstorms, yeah. You'll be snowed in for a while, especially the further out you are. I mean, I'm away from town, so I literally have to go and stock up. Like if there's a storm coming, I got to stock up food. There's been times where it's like, oh, I'm like, forget that. I'll go rent a hotel and just hang out downtown Rapid City because I don't want to be stuck in my house for 3 days, much as I like it. So, and then, if you're out in the prairie, dude, you better have a pantry and some food and some ammo and water, because it might be a week before they get to you and the roads are cleared. There just isn't that many people out here. So there you go. So that's South Dakota. I like it. I think if you're a couple and you're in love, it's a great place to move. If you want to have kids, good place to raise kids. I recommend that your girlfriend have a house in Spearfish and you have a house in Rapid City, so you can hit the two major population centers. And then you're like, yeah, you're still a half an hour away, babe. I'm going to chill out at my place. But yeah, I think I like it. Obviously. But that's what you can expect. All right. Let's go to the super chats. We got 3. By the way, I'll be taking down and re-uploading a YouTube approved video of the latest video I did. So don't worry if it's taken down. Chase Roboto, $5. The August powwow on the Rosebud Reservation is a good event to experience. I do believe Erica Shanta Williams is going to attend that as well. I think it's October. Well, you said August. All right, she's doing some in October. Oh no, it's Rapid City. They got the Rapid City powwow going on. Yeah, I mean we're not completely uncultured. No, not state fair. There's a county fair in Rapid. There's a cigar lounge. We got like 2 Sonics. It's pretty cool. The real Uncle. Hey, Uncle Hector, how are you? $2. Your pronunciation of words like Seville, South Dakota, Minnesota. No, I got that from Father Goose with Trevor Howard pronouncing it now, Walter B. Seville. And I like the sound of that. South Dakota, Seville, don't you know? Can you go and have sex with my wife now? I'll pay for your welfare, yeah. That's Minnesota accent. $50, $2. Nick Johnson did a video on Rawlins, Wyoming a day. No kidding. Did he go through Rawlins? Did he have a gun? Oh man, Rawlins. You don't want to go through Rawlins. Oh, jeez. There's like 8 teeth among all the women that live there. They just have 8 teeth cumulatively. All right, that's it. I'll see you guys later. Toodles.